Welcome to the Outer Realm with MicheleDerocher and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey for the last 5+ years. So thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, for the contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro you just heard. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your music streaming platforms. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind all of the banners here at the show, logos. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre, but does great commission pieces of any type. Tonight, we welcome the lovely Debbi Dachinger. Debbi is a journalist for extraterrestrial information, shamanism, and where that all intersects. She hosts an award-winning podcast, Dare to Dream, for the last 17 years, has spoken on stage worldwide, and is a certified Shamanic Energy Practitioner. She's recently been on Gaia's Beyond Belief with George Noory, talking about the Hopi and the ant people. So I've been very excited waiting to have this interview. And luckily, we've been so fortunate because we're starting the third show. It has freed up some of that waiting list, which has just been really crazy. So we're just going to wait for her to pop in. In the meantime, hello. Hi, Kurt. How are you? Thanks for being here. Thank you, Woo Riders. Oh, you guys are so awesome. Heidi, of course. Hello, hello. So hopefully everybody, gang will be all here sooner rather than later. So tonight, guys, remember, we're simultaneously across 8 different platforms, including Roku TV, which does not have a chat room. And we go to the pace of our guests. I will highlight questions and comments. I will also just periodically just flash everything up. And please also bear in mind our guest can see the board as well. So we're not ignoring anybody, but you guys know the drill, right? So without further ado, the lovely Debbi. Hello.
Hi, Michelle.
How are you?
I'm very happy to hang out with you.
Oh, thank you. I've been really looking forward to meeting you. I know we sort of follow each other a little bit on Instagram, and I love your posts, especially the recent ones. They've just been awesome. You've been a busy lady, having a lot of fun as well, which is great. So, yeah. So, I've been very intrigued in following. I've been researching you, of course, and I've always loved everything about shamanism. And I live that type of a lifestyle myself with respects to just very down to earth and spiritual. I'm also an experiencer of many things, especially extraterrestrials. And I found it fascinating that there is a blend between the two. So why don't we start with your humble beginnings a little bit, and maybe we could kind of, because I mean, one doesn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I think this is what I'm going to do. So I'll let you lead the way.
I love that. My humble beginnings. They weren't terribly humble, if I were to be honest. The thing that was funny is that I was on a trajectory, and I was always really happy doing whatever I was doing. Mm-hmm. And until there was something that came along to inform me otherwise.
Yes.
And so I'll just fast forward to the point
Of
where
course.
all of this started to connect together.
Yes.
And I was deeply spiritual. I had been doing my Dare to Dream podcast for 18 years. I started on radio. I shifted over to podcast. I still have a foot in radio as well. And it was just very spiritual.
Yes.
But there were a lot of things I didn't believe in. And I didn't believe in extraterrestrials.
Oh.
I thought that was crazy that people talked about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed in past life regressions, but I didn't believe in them for me because I had attempted several times. And I guess I just was not working with the right people because they would try to hypnotize me. And they, at some point they think you're under and they'd say, look at your feet. What are on your feet? Like
I'd start laughing. I wouldn't be able to help myself.
Oh my God. And it's like, it's a very painful question because if you're not under,
Yes.
the first thing you do is go here and go, I don't know what's on my feet. Maybe it's sandals. Maybe I'm in the desert.
Why are you looking at my feet? Why do you care? That's what I'd be on about.
These people are trying to get you to first see what you're wearing and then look around you to determine where you are and who you are. But all I can say is for me, it never worked. And in fact, it became a thing. I just didn't even want to go through it anymore. Wow. So those were like my kind of off limits. And I was doing some plant medicine. I'm always like, should I say it? Shouldn't I say it? But I was doing plant medicine. So I've done quite a bit at that point. And I went out of country for a week-long, let's call it a medicine retreat. And we did back-to-back nights. And everything wonderful that can happen with plant medicine occurred for me. And by the way, I'm not telling anyone to go do it. This is just my story.
Yes.
My very unexpected story and awakening is that I'm out of country doing this medicine and things are happening. I'm healing trauma. I'm seeing sacred geometry. There are things happening. It was pretty powerful.
Yes.
And every single night, the divine came to visit me. And she said, Debbie, you are a shaman, you are a healer, and you are a priestess. Her exact words. And I did what any red-blooded person would do when they receive such beautiful accolades like that. I argued. I said, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? I'm on medicine. I didn't understand what she was talking about. Because I had tons of people in my life. In fact, all my friends really are very gifted. Everybody who came on my show to be interviewed was very gifted, but I didn't relate to that.
Yes.
And a shaman, I thought, oh, that's big, man. I know what it takes to become a shaman. And I've done nothing except drink medicine. So I'm sure that doesn't constitute. So I didn't have context, but she would not stop. She was very generous and very loving and gracious. And every night she came to visit me again and said the same mantra, you're a shaman, you're a healer, you're a priestess. And she also started showing me different aspects of myself, how I healed, what it was like to heal, different things that were very interesting. Final night, she insisted I get some blessings from the shaman, specifically that I was a shaman and on my path for shamanism. So I'm like, I argued for 20 minutes for that one. I was very embarrassed, but she wouldn't back down. And so I did ask, I received them. I came home to the United States. I told a very gifted friend of mine, like, whoa, that was crazy. I'm so confused, right?
I want to do it again.
Yeah. I'm ready for the sequel, right?
Yes.
And he said, well, why don't we do some regressions and see what happens? So this guy was very skilled. And the first regression we did, I saw myself absolutely a male shaman, beautiful life, a dark, very strong and short and long dark hair. I know where I lived. I know everything about the environment I was in. It was really powerful. The very next week, he took me through another regression. And during that regression, I was really surprised. It's sort of like you come to in the middle of a movie, but the movie is your life, one of your lives.
Mhm.
And this particular life, I was over 7 feet tall, extremely slender. And I was a priestess in a temple, specifically of the Mayan people.
Mhm.
And I spent hours with her, and I was really enamored with this being. And
Mhm.
before I left, I had some assumptions about who she was and how she created. And I was
Mhm.
asking her questions, and she shook her head. She raised her finger and telepathically said to me, "I'm not from here. I'm from another galaxy." And I got her name
Mhm.
and all the other particulars, and I came back and it was like, whoa.
Mhm.
So that means then there are aspects of me that are also galactic. I've had lives on other planets as other beings. I mean,
Mhm.
this whole thing started to come to me, this
Yeah.
thing that I'd pushed away and judged. And I thought, oh my God, this is real. So here I am with the shamanism piece. Here I am with this extraterrestrial piece going, what do you do? What do you do with all this? I didn't know, where to go.
Mm.
And I thought, well, I'm good at, for sure, there's one thing I'm very good at, being a
Mhm.
journalist, being a researcher, being an aggregator, collector of information.
Mhm.
Why don't I go on this experience, this path of just gathering info and intel? And that's exactly what I did. As far as the shamanism thing, I thought, well, the best thing would be, let's start registering for some programs. Let's literally go in for shamanic certifications to get information, to start to understand what this is. And
Mhm.
then as far as extraterrestrials, I'm so fortunate because of my show that I'm able to interview people who channel extraterrestrials, very well-known
Mhm.
people, and to deep dive because of the many different people I know into this subject. So, I'm
Yes.
doing this just for edification, but what is actually happening is I'm massively changing, massively changing.
Maybe evolving. I always like to say we evolve. We go on our path, and we raise our vibration, our frequency, everything. Just when that information comes to you, it just
Yeah.
there's no way back. You could only move forward.
I have so many friends who are like, oh my God, just in the 6 month certification, like, who are you? I was
Who are you?
really,
What have you done with Debbie? Yeah. Yeah.
it was
Wow.
great feedback. And then I started taking it out in the world and healing other people,
Mhm.
doing group work, doing private shamanic work.
Mhm.
And then I started getting downloads. I was doing like
Oh,
galactic lineage stuff too, just, the whole behind the scenes, like
yes.
finding out all of the places and spaces my soul has been, the inception of my soul on different
Mhm.
planets, and why I am the way I am, why I even look the way I am, like
Mhm.
no accident, Lyran, right?
Yeah.
Leo ascending in my chart is like, it's so odd. They say that too.
Mhm.
Your ascendant in astrology is how you look. And it's
Mhm.
also sometimes got a really deep connection with your
Yeah.
soul. And so all of this starts contributing, and I start getting downloads, and I'm thinking, I think this stuff is connected. Shamans have known extraterrestrials since the beginning of time.
Mm.
In fact, the shamanic indigenous people are not even from here. They are originally, most of them, from Maia, Maya,
Mm.
in the Pleiades and some other planets, but that is where a lot of the indigenous people come from.
Mhm.
And so I'm starting to see these patterns and getting really curious. So I was speaking in Mexico City, and I wanted to show a film while I was speaking. I was speaking at the World Ufology event. And
Mhm.
so I asked people like Daryl Anka, Lisa Royal Holt. There were so many beautiful people who came together. Vita Kukulhoff and Rob Gauthier. I'm forgetting two people, Debbie Solaris, and
Mhm.
then one other. Oh, yeah, Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon. Will you
Mhm.
do? I just asked them because I know all of them. I want to do this project. Can I interview you? So they didn't know I had the same questions over and over again about shamanism, extraterrestrials. And
Mhm.
so none of them know. It's only on Zoom. And I'm starting to see, oh my God,
Mhm.
this download was 100% correct, and there's something very deep here.
Mhm.
And then I'm starting to get the next download, which is, I think this is where we can heal. It's something the indigenous have always known and taught.
Yes.
but we're so separated from all of that beautiful wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually the very thing that will save humanity and the planet right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where all this came, and this intersection came. It's been years, many years on this path.
Mm-hmm.
And I look back now and I think, Michelle, how loving that was for the divine to come and say that to me, and how grateful I am that I found a way to follow it and start to get more information, more edification. And yeah, now this is what I talk about.
I think it's wonderful. Do you feel that maybe because you really didn't believe and you had that door closed, and I mean, what would it have taken before this experience to slap you a little bit and say, for God's sakes, Debbie, we're right here and you're just not paying attention. But you go on this beautiful, this beautiful retreat. And lo and behold, now you're wide open. You can't shut it off. We got you. It's just, so do you think that's what hindered you now that you're so wide open, everything's happening? Because I come from the world of downloads as well. And you just, it's just unexpected sometimes. You just seem to know things when you're meant to know them. I'll be working and I'll be looking for something. All of a sudden it's like, I just know it. It's like, okay, thank you. Because you don't research it in that moment. It's just given to you.
Yeah. And a lot of that still happens for me today, more through synchronicities, where I'll learn some information and I'll find it. Oh, that's really interesting information. And then I'll get a book and it has a deep dive into that information. And then someone will come on my show and we'll have this whole conversation, and they keep filling in these different pockets. And before you know it, the puzzle is formed. And what I love about these subjects, I mean, how does it get any better than this? These subjects just keep unfolding. Like, I think it's a reflection of the cosmos, right? The cosmos is vast, it's infinite,
Yes,
never ending. And this information, what lives inside the earth, what lives inside the ocean, what lives on the other side of the veil, and all these amazing subjects, and also the real history of the earth and humans. So yes, I love that it keeps presenting. And when it presents, it's usually synchronistic.
I love synchronicities. I always say I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in synchronicities, and for people who may not be aware, I think is the word I'm looking for. Sometimes it's something as simple as a name on a billboard, a license plate, a song, just things, think about when you see things, numbers, you start thinking about things and you have to tap into what was I thinking about at that moment that I saw that. And it's a great way to start. Now, once it starts, again, it's almost like the wheel gets turning, the car gets going, and you can't stop it. It's an incredible journey. And when it happens to you, it just unfolds. But I find sometimes, at least for myself, because I've been an experiencer literally my whole life. I'm family lines, all of that on different levels. But I still find that life keeps you busy, and sometimes you just don't pay attention. So things are happening to me and I'm not paying attention, and then it gets a little harsher. So that's for me, like, pay attention.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, and I'm really big on trusting myself.
yeah.
I just went through something very interesting. It was, has to do with somebody's health, and it's a big deal. It's been sort of a roller coaster for a couple of weeks. And I was asking somebody their opinion. What would you do? Would you go ahead? Because it's a very expensive situation. And it was really interesting. And what I learned about myself, because I'm way independent, autonomous, I'm all about freedom, all that stuff. And here I am. And I realized, oh, that's pretty cool. I actually can learn what I really want and need, what my own intuitive path is. When somebody says something contrary, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, that was great. And I totally respect this person, but I just knew in my heart, like, yeah, that's not going to work for me.
Mhm.
I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And I would say also when really big things come, kind of like when I wanted to drink plant medicine.
Mhm.
I mean, I didn't. I also had a lot of judgment about that. And I thought, I'm never going to do that. That's crazy.
I find that it's, I'll be the elephant in the room. Ayahuasca is pretty cool. It's, it's, I mean, I've known a lot of people who've done it and have had pretty interesting experiences, but they're not
Yeah.
all profound
Mhm.
like yours. Sometimes they just can't get past their own trauma to be able to get to that enlightening part.
It depends on so many things. It depends on the medicine. It depends on the location.
Mhm.
It depends definitely on the people who are facilitating. And God, please, folks, if you're going to choose to do it, find a real shaman.
Mhm.
Um,
Good one in
and
Peru.
yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, they come
Yeah.
here too, to the
Mhm.
States.
Mhm.
There's quite a few, but
Mhm.
I would say, if you're going to do it also, much like you're saying, you got to be in the right headspace. And I
Mhm.
don't mean you have to be fully healed and and all
Yes.
that stuff, but
Yes.
it's like, yeah, if you have some pretty significant issues and you're not down to heal,
Mhm.
because I'm kind of a bring it person. I
Mhm.
can't stand pain. So when stuff would come up for me, even if it was a big surprise, like I didn't know that,
Mhm.
I would just roll with it. My big thing always with plant medicine is surrender. And the funny thing is, the only time I was ever uptight was before I drank.
Right.
Ah! And then I would
Oh.
drink and I would start to come on, and it felt like the most beautiful place to be.
Mhm.
But I've drunk like 25 times, and only 3 times has my life changed. I've
Mm.
had, little twists and turns here and there,
Mhm.
releases, but
Mhm.
I mean, significant life changes. So, yeah. But the
Mhm.
point is, after I was through with my judgment and grandmother ayahuasca came and said, "We want you to sit with us," I surrendered. But
Yes.
I had no idea I was going to do it. And all these synchronicities began. Unbelievable people reaching out to me, saying
Mhm.
things, seeing a ceremony in the middle of a freaking park while I was hiking. There was all these things. And I was like, okay, I am so meant to do this. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. I see
Mhm.
proof everywhere. So
Mhm.
I like that about life.
Mhm. I think it's fantastic. I love it. You just keep doing it. I would do exactly the same thing. I need more because, you can't get everything in just one shot. You can't. you know? So, I don't know. I think it keeps opening doors because our paths change. Let's face it, every time you make a decision, you're on a different path. So, I think the guidance is extraordinary.
Mm,
S
I do too.
So, you are now on this path, and, you've had, you know, you've come from a line of extraterrestrial at some point in another life because we can reincarnate pretty much anywhere. There's nothing saying we incarnate here all the time. Thank God. So, right. I always call this a punishment planet. This is for the hard learners. Keep coming back.
Or we're very brave and strong that we even decided at this incredible time on the planet. And we said, I got this, because they say there's a lot of people that,
Yes.
I'm pointing up. Isn't that so weird? I mean, it's still this old 3D thing about like heaven or whatever, wherever your soul goes. But
Yes.
the real point is wherever our souls go,
Mhm.
let's say it's a nice jungle or something, and we're all hanging out. And then somebody came up and said, hey, there's going to be major crisis. There's going to be major issues. We're going to hope this time on
Mhm.
this planet, there's no flood or fire or catastrophe. And instead we steer everything the right way. We don't wipe out humanity. So
Mhm.
what do you say? Who can handle it? And all these hands go up, right? Including ours. I
I
got this.
know. I
I
know.
can handle it.
Yes.
And of the
Yes.
many, many hands, not all of them got chosen. There's still a waiting line. So I always remember that, when I look around and I see some of the things that are perpetrated against humanity for greed
Mhm.
or otherwise,
Mhm.
it's real hard for me. And then I have to remember before I start sinking into that
Mhm.
to just like extract myself and say, you chose to come here, baby. You got this. Just be the
Mhm.
light. And remember, keep that
Breathe,
vibration
love
high.
and light, love and light. Just when I'm having a day, I just go, okay, love and light, just get it over with. But I think it is very much that. I'm a light worker, I'm a shadow worker. I can work them both very easily. I do a lot of planetary stuff, which I love because I have a very strong connection, to Mother Earth. So for
Mhm.
me, it's so intense. So I get a little bit ornery when I see people doing ridiculous things like that. But you're right. I think those of us who can handle it are here. But man, I'm tired, Debbie. I'm tired. But what I guess at the end of the day, would I do it any other way? Probably not. I have my ethereal beings that I work with, and I have phenomenal ET experiences. So I really can't complain from that standpoint because so many people could only wish that they could have that experience. And some maybe not, and some are not so great. I think it really depends on your path and on, the individual. But so far, knock on wood, it's been great. And I'm hoping to keep it that way. So now I love the whole ancient past because I find that people on average, we're all about this disclosure thing, and people like, yeah, we just want to do it. Whereas I always go back to the past. I'm an old soul. I live back there as much as possible, even though there's really nothing there for you to, you have to keep going forward. But the ancient people did not seem to have the same fears. They emulated what they saw and respected and experienced. There are so many things throughout the world, out of place artifacts, petroglyphs, hieroglyphs, ancient monuments. I mean, name it. It's all there. It's all been left there for us. Right. So have they, and I mean, obviously, yes, they have interacted, but have they intervened on our behalf as far as technology, assistance?
Well, so yes, that is true. And there's proof that goes back at least 100,000 years ago, for instance, in West Kimberley, Australia, with the Aboriginals,
Yes.
who were very connected to the Wanjinas.
Yes.
And that's on caves everywhere. And you can see clearly these are extraterrestrials.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I can go back to a lot of history, Japanese who are deeply connected to the Dogons.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then there's the Dogon people in West Mali, Africa, and they had the fish-like beings, the amphibious beings from Sirius visiting them since 3200 BC. And these beings taught them agriculture and
Mhm.
civilization and astronomy. And they knew, these Dogon people, they knew all about planet Sirius, A and B, by the way, invisible to the naked eye. And the technology telescope to see
Yes.
these planets wasn't even discovered till the 1860s. So all these experts are like, how do you know this? How do you know this? And they knew everything about the planets that go on their axis and about Saturn, about Jupiter. These were their friends.
Mhm.
So they have had a big influence in the sense that they have mentored and been in relationship, as in friendship, great familial
Mhm.
friendship with all these beings and all these historical cultures.
Mhm.
As far as intervening, no, because this is a planet of choice, self-will, and everybody knows it. The only one who's ever crossed that line was the Anunnaki, right? 450,000 years ago, when they were having problems in their planet and they wanted to find monatomic gold to save their atmosphere. And they came here. They were viewed as gods because they were these huge creatures. They didn't want to mine. And so the Anunnaki said, let's dumb down these beings. We were not fully human. We weren't what we are right now,
Mhm.
but we were 12-strand DNA. We lived a long time. And they said, let's dumb them down. Let's take out some of their DNA and make it 2-strand instead. And
Mm.
then they'll do the labor for us. And that's exactly what happened. But then, the signal goes up to the other Anunnakis, who are like, what are these rogue beings doing? They weren't ever supposed to do this to Earth beings.
Yes.
And we were screwed. We were, of course, mining for them. We got them what they needed. However, we stopped living long. We stopped being able to bear children and so forth. We became very sick. And so the other beings, of course, we've got thousands of strands of DNA, galactic, other species, extraterrestrial DNA inside of us. So I love saying to people, you know, they are us. That's your cousin, your uncle, your brother, maybe your children. So there's a lot of beautiful connection with these beings. Why wouldn't we want to be connected? And all of that to say that we were saved, essentially. The benevolent extraterrestrials knew that when there was an intervening that was not supposed to happen, that was actually very negative for us, the 5 primary species that donated their genetics to us, and we all have it, all of us here, it's the feline, it's the reptilian, it's the bird, it's the avian, and it's the Lyran lion beings. And that's that. Now, the only other time they will intervene is anything atomic or nuclear. That's different. And people sometimes say, well, why? Why do they care if we destroy ourselves or Earth? They care because that kind of impact, it influences everything in the cosmos. It changes everything, and they can't have that. So I've met people who work for the military, who worked for nuclear, and much like me, didn't believe in extraterrestrials and were part of a project, you know, supposed to be there to press a button, when all of a sudden the ships come over and completely shut down all of the nuclear warhead, all of the computer equipment, and it didn't go up for days. And they're all freaked out, calling, you know, their commanding officer, going, oh my God, this thing just happened. So that, yes, they will intervene every time, but otherwise, no, they will never. We are a planet of choice.
Cataclysm, such as the Hopi, such as the Peruvian people as well. And with the Hopi, I think it happened twice.
The Hopi also got saved by the ant people.
Yes.
Do you know about this?
Yes.
So there were these subterranean beings that they still do, by the way. It's when I first heard this, I was like,
sure.
Really?
Yeah.
WTF. And you know, and then this is one of those things that the person was so reputable. He had worked for the government telling me this stuff. I'm like, oh man, I gotta look this up. And I come to find out there's a huge history with the ant people. And so the ant people absolutely live subterranean. They're very beautiful beings, and they have the qualities that you would think about little ants. I don't mean like crawling into your kitchen and disturbing your garbage, but I mean they work in a hive sense. They really work together. They work for the good, and they're wonderful team players, but they're super smart. And so these ant beings knew to have storage, knew to have safe places for anything that might befall what was going on above on planet Earth. And so, yes, during one of these cataclysms, the Hopi were saved, and they were saved by the ant people. They were brought inside these deep caves. They lived there for a long time, and they taught them, the ant people taught them how to store food, how to live in these kind of conditions, and also when it was safe to come back out and repopulate the world.
I think, I believe that this also happened in Peru, but it was by, he was known as a reptilian god Morop, right? Referred to as like the iguana man. And also, as they were going through, some sort of cataclysm, he was said to have brought humans down, lived underground in caves, lived with them, educated them, shared, his knowledge, his wisdom about all of humanity, and kept them there, kept them fed, everything. In fact, I think it was actually a statue of him in the town that they have erected, which I thought, that's what I thought. I was like, isn't that unusual? But again, with reptilians, people get really freaked out with them.
There's good lawyers, bad lawyers, good actors,
100%.
bad actors. I mean, it's the
Car
same,
salesman,
really.
yeah, same
There's some
idea.
very benevolent
Yeah.
reptilians, very benevolent.
Yes.
When I was first getting into this, I used to speak with this beautiful woman who channels a being from Yael, of the Yael beings. So they are hybrids, half human, very advanced and very young and very beautiful beings. And so I was so new at this, and I was green, and I was like, oh, reptilians, la, 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 la. And this channeled being was very kind but sharp with me, to say that is simply not so, and nobody in the cosmos believes that to be so and knows that to be so. There are many beautiful reptilians, and reptilians who actually help you guys here on Earth. And I remember I was so like, ooh, felt like I had been
chastised. My bad.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a t-shirt that says reptilians lives matter. I'm gonna wear that. Because I felt so bad that I made that judgment. It was really incorrect,
Yes. Well, people go by what they see, and you get some that are big and growly. I think when you step into the world, I believe everything connects in one form or another. Some people who are having paranormal experiences are really having extraterrestrial experiences, right down to sounds and smells and everything. And one of those things happens to be, growly things. So people think of, reptilians, and when you hear them, they're very gruff, but it doesn't mean that they're not being kind.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, there are some growly things that also live inside the earth. And, we don't see everything because a lot of it is etheric, it's energetic. They're able to do things in ways they don't have to physicalize, but they exist. But I will talk a little bit about a malevolent reptilian energy that does live in the earth. And they utilize where they live as portals. Some of them come back and forth. Some of them just live there. But this is actually very important information, I think, because they also are not viewed as negative by the rest of the beings in the cosmos. They instead look at them as at their job and what they're doing. Now they feed on negativity. So let me tell you, when all this stuff goes on about politics and countries and wars and tariffs and all of this stuff, they're like, they're loving it. It actually feeds them. It's mana, nourishment. And so the greatest thing we can remember, even if it's just a picture of that, and you don't want to feed them, it's like that stray cat, you don't want to keep coming back. Then raise your vibration, talk gratitude. Every night when I go to bed, literally what I do, I close my eyes. And as I'm laying there, because it's just that period of time between closing my eyes and actually drifting off, and I will say all the things I am grateful for. And it is such a beautiful practice, but do that so you go to sleep. You're clean when you go to sleep with this beautiful vibration. Or, there's another practice. You can do that, but that raises your vibration. Maybe you could send love to people, even people you have some issue with. Just send them love and kindness and compassion. But there's lots of things we can do if we remember. It's not just those reptilians. There's a lot of entities that love to feed on our negativity, on our depression, on our anxiety, and all this stuff. And boy, what a world, what a feast they have right now.
That's why I can't get rid of them.
Yeah, there's too many people who don't get it, and they still live in that stuff.
It's funny. I remember reading from a young age, the Gnostic texts and getting into the archons and how they were exactly that. And it's, there are so many, but that was my first experience in learning more about these bottom dwellers that would just create negativity in working with people. If it's the first thing I would say, I was just like, well, you have everything going on, and all of this mess within your space is so negative, whether it be addiction or depression or anxiety, whether something causes it or whether it just amplifies it if you fall into it, if you can't break that cycle and raise your vibration and think positive thoughts. I love binaural beats for that. I love working, with tuning forks and gongs and drums. And I love to bring that vibration up because honestly, it's if you can't do it on your own, then just find that sort of a tool to help you do it. And it happens pretty quick.
Absolutely. I also have a very strong relationship with Mother Earth. And so one of my practices is to go into the backyard, no shoes, put my feet in the grass and just
Earthing.
stand there. Let the roots go into Mother Earth. And I literally breathe with her, And then I have shamanic practices I do outside as well. But that is so grounding, so healing. And one of the things most people don't know about Mother Earth is that you can give her anything. We call it, in the Peruvian language, the Quechua language, you call it hucha. And hucha is heavy, dense, negative energy, dark energy, right? So Grandfather Fire loves to take it. And also Mother Earth will eat it, transmute it into the light for you. So, it's perfectly fine to go find some grass, even in a park, and just make it a practice, 5 minutes, 15, 30 minutes, that you can connect with her and just let anything that's not serving you flow out of you. I'm doing a new moon ceremony. I don't know why it took me so long, because I do all sorts of shamanic healing and ceremonies. And it just hit me the other day, I want to start doing the new moon and the full moon ceremonies. These are huge game changers. And so they're free, and I'm doing it on this Sunday. And then for the next full moon, I guess in May, and going forward, I'm going to keep this up for a while because I know what it does for me to transmute the energy. And they're always, each moon is different, and new moon and full moon are also quite different. And still, when you use these shamanic practices, I know because I do this with groups all the time, there are people always writing to me like, whoa,
yes,
I felt that immediately. And this happened and this happened. And these are the tools, I think, that this is the stuff that's imperative right now, to have some kind of practice you can hang your hat on and know that it is there for you. It sustains you. It changes the energy and really puts you in the place to be in the life you prefer.
I think being grounded also keeps, people or ethereal beings from attaching as easily. So getting into that whole practice of grounding and working with the elements, is one way of keeping yourself in tune with the planet. I think people forget we need to be in tune with her frequency.
Oh, I know, we live on her.
Yes.
We eat her food. We eat food from her.
Yes.
Our houses are on her. Our animals, our plants, everything. Absolutely.
She sustains us, and we need to give back. Like you say, you have this ritual, every morning. I try to do that at night, but I also try to put positive thoughts into the collective consciousness every day. Just put, a message of love, whatever the case is, just to hope that it reaches. If it reaches only 10%, then that's 10% who may be having a better day. May not know why they are, but they just wake up feeling really good.
I love that. I had an experience when I was in Italy. I've been traveling a lot, speaking, and I was in Italy, and we went to this very sacred place where a being by the name of Padre Pio, Father,
yes.
and where his body, so you've seen it, or maybe you know about him, but his body is there.
Yes.
In this case, perfect. Like, this man's been dead for decades.
Yes.
And he looks like he could stand up and start walking.
Yes.
And so he's a miracle. And so people go there and they pray and they ask for what they want. And they write things down and they put it in things. And so I was actually there with a Swami, and it was very interesting. He was walking around praying. And so I just started walking around Padre Pio as well. And all of a sudden it hit me, you know, because here I am asking for this and that for myself. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden I thought, oh my God, what if I just really prayed that everybody who is here right now honoring Padre Pio or coming to ask for a healing or something,
Mhm.
I pray for all of them, for
Mm.
joy, for happiness, for love, for healing, for
Mhm.
contentment. And then I thought, like, my mind just kept expanding. And I thought, what about the whole world? What would that mean if the whole world was actually happy and content and
Mhm.
healed and non-judgmental? And, you
Mhm.
know, it really grew in me. And I was praying for that for every soul because I
Mhm.
thought, was for the first time was just imagining what that could create. And I've had several occasions where I've been in a situation like that, where you're in a situation where you can ask for something and it's a pretty big sacred
Mhm.
situation, person, being. And
Mhm.
the same thing has come to me to transcend what I'm asking for myself
Mhm.
and to include the all, like the everyone, the every soul. And it's pretty glorious to go into that space.
Mhm.
I really want for everybody, you
Mhm.
know, desire for everybody, see
Because it
everybody.
comes back to you.
Mm,
What you put out comes back to you. So when you are putting out all of this prayer and this messages of hope and this infinite love to everything, that it comes back and it envelops you as well. It's a beautiful experience,
mhm.
to put something like that out. I always feel so amazing just working just with the collective consciousness, a um, different type of energy work, but it's just I feel phenomenal because it's the law of attraction. What goes out comes back. And I think people need to understand that. If you want to be a negative Nelly, it's going to come back to you because I don't think the universe looks at things such as, the individual wants and needs. It's you need to be very specific. If you have the same thing in your life going on all the time, it's sort of like, well, this must be what you like. Here's some more. Well, you may not want exactly what you have at that moment. You may want it just to be a little lighter. So you have to put that out there.
Yeah. And also, you know, when we're talking about these entities and keeping our vibration up, I also am a firm believer. I work with people. People work with me. I
Yes.
work with people. I'm just on the path.
Yes.
And I mean, kind of back to something you said in the beginning that, you know, I don't know if I want to come back here again.
I
I mean,
know.
that's a little bit of why I do what I do. I think
Mhm.
whatever choices I made, you know, all of us made soul choices
Yeah.
about certain difficulties and wounds, for
Mm.
sure. Here's
Yes.
the lessons, here's the obstacles, you know, and hopefully we've worked through them or we're continuing to unearth, like you said, the shadow work and
Mhm.
take it on and say, okay, what am I bringing to the party? Like,
Mhm.
what do I need to heal? What do I need to look at?
Mhm.
And that is so motivating for me.
Mhm.
And so any place I can't see something that's big, or especially, frankly, on the energy level,
Mhm.
I've got my go-to people, and I have somebody I work with every other week. She's an unbelievable healer. She
Mhm.
sees into the matrix, like down to my bones and cells. I
Mhm.
don't even have to say anything. She knows.
Mhm.
And it's like this, I think it's a beautiful flow. I'm there for people and doing healings on people, and she's there for me. And I think this work too is also very important.
Oh, absolutely. I think healers have been a part of ancient cultures. It's like civilizations for since the dawn of time. You call them medicine men, call them shaman, call them healers, whatever name they go by. Their role is to heal, whether you're healing people, whether you're healing the planet, whether you're just healing the energy that makes everything tick one way or another. They're instrumental.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also mentors, and I'm big on that. You know, I worked recently with a Celtic shaman and
Mm,
I worked with a Japanese shaman.
very
Wow.
nice. Very
So
nice.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting, because most of my lineage has been Peruvian through 5 different
Mm-hmm.
shamanic teachers. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have been wanting to spread my shaman wings, so to speak, and
Yes.
learn from other cultures. But it's really interesting at the bottom of all of it. I just feel it's this unbelievable love, this unbelievable gift of seeing beyond this realm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about the earth. Like they so get it, no matter what the language is, that it's really about the earth.
Mm-hmm. Are there any differences between all the different cultural practices in shamanism?
Huge. Yes. The practices and how they get there,
Mm-hmm.
how they do things,
Mm-hmm.
really different.
Very
Really
interesting,
different.
isn't it? Yes.
It is. And
Yes.
I love what I do because that's what I was ushered into.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I met my spirit animal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, frankly, just what came. Talk about synchronicity. I
Yes.
didn't ask for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just literally the female, the male, all from different places in Peru,
Mm-hmm.
but each of them over the many years. So
Mm-hmm.
there's something very powerful there for me, but it's gorgeous, these practices, like very powerful healing,
Mm-hmm.
what they can do. But I am still excited to learn more. And I also trust the process because I meet people and they'll
Mm-hmm.
say,
Yes.
a shaman from this country, and they see me. I'm like, would you
Yes.
like to be introduced? Yes, please.
Very
And
nice.
it's a very loving connection that I end up having with these people.
Mm-hmm. And do you find yourself, when you talk about synchronicities, that sometimes you're just meant to meet certain people who are
Yeah.
going to take you or assist you on part of your path, or maybe deter you from part of the path that you're not supposed to be on? Do you find that happens with you a lot? And of course, being on the show is kind of hard because as hosts, we're kind of like, well, we meet all kinds of people.
Yeah.
I mean, so more of a personal level.
Um, I don't feel that at all. I think more in my previous career, like a couple of careers ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing the kind of work I was doing, I could see that it was, I would get clients, but it wasn't always working out.
Yes.
And there was some, financial struggle and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And I look back, it's like, yeah, I mean, that wasn't me. And I
Yes.
didn't know it. I was doing the best I could. I
Mm-hmm.
thought I should be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Thought I was good at that. But it's like, no, baby, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so also, like another way I could explain this, my partner and I do music. Our band is called Lions of Lyra. I
Mm-hmm.
sing. I've been singing my whole life, as a
Mm-hmm.
professional actress before all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of the kind of music we do, it's very medicine, but it's also very uplifting, very message. It's very beautiful and
Mm-hmm.
it's very channeled. And we have people now more than ever. We always think, oh, we had a big year, performing like for transformational people. It's getting bigger and bigger. And there's pretty big names, people who channel extraterrestrials who are coming forward and have heard us and now are interested. And we're
Mm-hmm.
not doing anything. So I
Mm-hmm.
also know that is cosmically my
Yes.
soul is supposed to be doing that. But all of what this is, whether I'm writing books, on a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
speaking on stage, singing, it
Mm-hmm.
has one thing in common, and that is here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to sing out loud. I'm here to speak out loud. I'm here to
Mm-hmm.
communicate. I'm here to lead. I know that.
Yes.
And I think once you fall into that,
Mm-hmm.
that flow of being who your soul really is,
Mm-hmm.
it's so much easier. And then I get all this confirmation. I look at my astrology. I look at my human design. I look at my numerology. It's like, oh yeah. When
Yeah.
you like wheedle it all down, it says the same thing over and over again.
Yes. Everything just jives as it should. But,
Yeah.
of course, it's again the law of attraction. If you're putting out this vibration and this, you're always going to be put in a position in your life where you are going to be seen and heard and noticed because that is how you keep moving forward and doing just that, because it is what you're meant to do.
Mm.
And you just fall into it. And people just find themselves gravitating.
Yeah, it's a different quality of life. It
Yes.
really is. It's way more joyful
Mm-hmm.
and easy and exciting. And the
Mm-hmm.
challenges are not within the business. The challenges are like, like I got an invitation from Gaia TV to be interviewed. Oh my God, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Then I get invited again. So the challenges are more like up leveling,
Mm-hmm.
allowing myself to be more visible, to trust my voice, that kind of stuff.
That's a big one because, as the stage and, the audience gets bigger, there's always that, people hang off of what, the people that they see and they're here to listen to, they hang off of those words. It's a problem that a lot of mediums will have. It's a very big responsibility because these people, no, you said it. Better happen. It hasn't happened yet. Look onto the clock. We're on the clock. It's like, I'm sorry. Did you just change? If you changed your mind at any point during the day, you may have to come back for another reading, based on your present stuff, because it's how it works that way. Like
I'm really careful about. If
yes,
I ever do a reading, I'm
yeah,
very careful because words have power
they
and it
do.
can create something in the brain.
Mm-hmm. They do. My first experience with that, I was 18 years old. My best friend, because she's your best girl. You're gonna tell her whatever she wants to know. Is my boyfriend cheating on me? Yes. And no tact. You're my best friend. I'm gonna tell you straight up.
No.
And the lesson was that
Mm.
she tried to take her own life over it.
Oof.
That was, I don't like to do readings at all. I mean, I sometimes will have people in the ethereal realm just nagging at me to say something. I'm talking to it. I'm just like, all right. It's with resistance because that for me, I found there was just so much responsibility related to it. And I prefer to just stay on, on the planetary side of things. I quit a lot of media to just concentrate on certain aspects because there are people who take what you say so seriously that, I almost lost my best friend at that point because you're my best friend. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. And I'm brutally honest. And you learn tact after that. So maybe you shouldn't have just blurted that out. You should have been more delicate.
Yeah.
It
It's huge. It's a responsibility. It's
It is.
very true.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does somebody who is, you work so closely with all of this, and we are a world in turmoil. There's a lot of people in turmoil, and trying to stay, it's your job to stay uplifted and to uplift others. So how do you manage and balance that?
I really feel like being of service is where it's at.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When I've had something going on, and not often, it's
Mhm.
really not often, and it's usually, so for instance, this is a great example.
Mhm.
I am super connected to my dog. My dog is like totally soulmate. And if you guys ever saw Dark Materials, his Dark Materials, or read the books,
Mhm.
she's my daemon or my demon, meaning my soul.
Yes.
And so she all of a sudden got sick. I mean, really seriously sick. And it triggered all my issues, like being left, being abandoned, losing, grieving, all that kind of stuff. And the reality of like, none of the doctors can figure out what's going on. And this is awful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could have just said, I have to cancel everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have to just be with the situation. That was an option.
Mm-hmm.
But I made the choice. So, for instance, I was doing a despacho ceremony, and there was a lot of people coming from around the country and around the world, and they were excited about this. They had paid to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew in my heart, like the best place I can be is doing a despacho ceremony and guiding people.
Mm-hmm.
And because the first thing I do when I work with people is I open sacred ceremony. I open sacred space, and right away something happens there for everybody. Then I describe what is a despacho ceremony, and there's something so gorgeous about learning the lineage and who does it and why I'm allowed to do it. And then I describe all the different components that are going to go into our despacho, which is this gorgeous bundle we're going to make. And then I spend the next time guiding people. And always, I like to lead them through a process. And so at the end, I get out my drum, my shaman drum, and I guide them through something in profound, like, because I know when they're going to send this off in the world, I want something different to happen, because I live for those testimonies when people write to me and say, oh my God, I was dreaming of leaving this place I live in. I'm not happy here. I knew where I wanted to live. It wasn't available to me, and certainly not at a price I could afford. They did the despacho with me, and bam, they're living in that place. People whose jobs, all sorts of things, health, weather systems. And so I move into service. How can I, when this stuff starts to befall me, if it's in my own, it's usually in my own personal life, and it's something of that magnitude, it has to be that big of a loss, or it brings up that many feelings. And I think ultimately it helps, because there's an expansion, a widening back. Instead of focusing so much on a situation, which never helps, I'm in another energy. And so things can come to me, answers can come to me, directions can come to me, questions I ask myself that let me know, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Now I'm getting some clarity here, and then I'm going to start taking action. And all of this is so important. Instead of being, involved with the minutia or the negativity. So yes, I am of service. I go into, how can I help people? How can I gather people? What can we do to all of us synergistically shift our energy, and also individually? And I think that's the secret sauce.
I would agree. The service to others. I would often just kind of put it out there, to my guides, and just, okay, what is it exactly that you want me to do? And it always comes out one word: serve. It's been like this I've been hearing that one word, like my whole life, but without ever, getting what it meant until, you're actually an adult and you stop goofing around as a young adult or a teenager, because, you have a life to live after all. All of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, oh, there's all of this as well. This is kind of cool. But serve was always the one thing. And as I got an understanding of it, I've ended up spending the last, 20 plus years doing just that, just helping people. Literally, I've helped people around the world. And I couldn't imagine not doing it, as overwhelming as it can be. You just know you're supposed to do it, and you just find it within yourself to do it.
Absolutely. It's a great shifter. I mean, when you're of service, you have compassion, you have love for other people, care for other people, right there. It's a great trifecta.
It's interesting, because for the longest time I had this attitude, it's like, I just don't like people, because people could be just so cruel. I'm a big animal lover too, right? So, and the planet. So I see how people, if you treat an animal a certain way, it speaks a lot about, somebody's character. You kick a dog, you might find yourself knocked off the edge of Niagara Falls. A little bit of a hip toss or something. Like that's hard for me.
It is. It's even hard for me. I don't understand some of the sayings and expressions we have. I'm like, where did that come from? Killing two birds with one stone? Who needs to kill anybody? Or we have to, how you do it? How you eat an elephant? One piece at a time. I'm like, who's eating an elephant?
What is with that term? Who made that up? I want to know.
There's so many bad ones. And I'm like, it's not proactive for animal love. And God knows what the animals, they've been abused enough, like Mother Earth, they deserve a break because they're the most
And there's a lot of
beautiful
wisdom
creatures.
there. There's so much wisdom if you look into
Yes.
the eyes of an animal.
Yes.
They must look at us and just go, "What's wrong with you? Seriously, what is wrong with you?" I had a Chihuahua, he was like 2 pounds, and I would say something. I'm trying to reason with this dog who's got an attitude bigger than, a Great Dane, going, "I'm not doing it." But you have to do it. Sit around the table, try to reason. It's like, no.
Boundaries.
Boundaries, exactly. So, but it's true. There's so much wisdom. What about prophecies?
What about them?
Well, we look at let's get into the Hopi prophecy. Do you think we're coming back into this time because they believe the white calf? And I think the last white calf was what, 1994, something like that. I think
No, it was 2000. It was 2024. It was last year in April. The
but
white
that
calf
one
was
didn't.
born.
That one, did it survive? Because I thought there was one that
In Kansas.
Yeah, it didn't. So, well, one was like what, 1990, in the 1990s. One came in the 2000s somewhere, survived a couple of weeks. I didn't realize there was another one. So, do you think, with the way the world is going, do you think this is something, because we know that the indigenous people take this as like very much to heart and very serious?
Yeah, absolutely. They all coincide. All the indigenous have prophecies about this time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, the Hopis is quite beautiful. And when you read about what was said back when they didn't have the language to describe the technology that
Yeah.
we're living in right now, it's really interesting to see how they were prophesizing
Yes.
what we're living in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And additionally, in the Peruvian culture, in the indigenous, their prophecy is called the Pachacuti.
Mm-hmm.
It's every 500 years is a different Pachacuti.
Mm-hmm.
Many people might know Pacha as in earth, like Pachamama, but Pacha also means time. So Pachacuti means time of change. And we are definitely, boom, deep in the midst of a Pachacuti. And this time of change, they prophesize, wasn't going to be easy. They prophesized the chaos. They prophesized that it's going to be like a shaking up of the world, but the world has to be shaken up. Humanity has to be shaken up. We can't keep going the way we've been going. And so it's really a reckoning, but it's a reclaiming. And there are many pieces of this prophecy, the Pachacuti, which says, the whole financial industry is going to change, that the North and South are going to fly together, the rise of the divine feminine, that we're not going to be able to live anymore in this very masculine industrial energy. And what I mean by that is busy, busy, busy. Appointment, go, go, go. Oh, I'm working 40 hours plus, I'll tack on another 50 and not take a break. And like, no more. And they're saying, as in the divine feminine in all of us, men and women, it is about receiving and remembering and this gentle power, this new way of being. And they also say that this is the time when the eagle and the condor are finally going to fly together. So yes, we're living in the midst of the prophecy of the chaos, but the chaos in order to bring about the peace, the harmony. And they do say that that's at the end of all of this.
And could be a decade and could be a year. Hate to be that guy, but do we have any idea as to how long this prophecy is
well, a Pachacuti is 500 years. And so, let's say we're smack in the middle of, it could be, we're in the middle of the 250 to 350. So yeah, we have a ways to go, but this stuff obviously it doesn't happen quickly. War doesn't suddenly end quickly. Greed, mistreatment of children, all the things that we live in, the, raping.
100-year cycle. It just keeps going. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have
Same
to
thing.
learn. And that is why, exactly why right now on this planet, when
Mhm.
people feel like, oh, I can't even look at the news, it's so awful. But pay attention, because a lot of what we're seeing in the news is in your face.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of celebrities and people out there who have mistreated women and did some really messed up stuff,
Mhm.
they can't hide anymore.
Yes.
Their information is out there. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's being
Mhm.
brought to the light, because how do you heal the darkness, right? You put it in the light to be seen and known. Then
Mhm.
it can't escape. And
Mhm.
then it can be transmuted. So there's a lot of stuff, that Jeffrey Epstein's, all of that stuff, Harvey
Mhm.
Weinstein, but
Mhm.
that's just sort of one subject. There's many other
There
subjects.
are. Yeah, there are.
Very capital. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, I mean, I go back to, extraterrestrials. We are such a world divided. There's a theory that, oh, yes, we have a galactic federation. Other people go, no, we don't. You have the yays, the nays. But in the end, to be a part of anything remotely close to that, we have to be the human race. Right? You cannot just be all these different countries, all these different leaders, all these different rules, all these different currencies, all of this different everything. And you have to be unified, and you have to be pretty much one, and at that point, maybe then the whole take me to your leader thing might actually be viable to be able to have a decent conversation. So
Well, they've already been taken to our leaders. I mean, our
frightening though.
government has been in conversation with
Yeah.
extraterrestrials since the
Yes.
1920s,
Yes.
1940s, and
Yes.
every president thereafter, they all know, they're highly, highly aware.
Mhm.
They made a promise that they would start to disseminate this information. The government made a promise to the extraterrestrials
Mhm.
that they're in relationship with. We will, okay. You give us all your advanced technology and we'll start telling the people. But
Yes. I know.
really?
I know.
So no,
They're
they
not playing
haven't.
nice in the
But
sandbox. No.
what they are doing, slow as they are,
Yes.
is they have taken some of the people working in very high level factions in the government,
Mhm.
and they've said, it is okay for you to become a whistleblower. We're
Mhm.
going to give you permission, because this is how we're going to drip this information
Mhm.
out there. But you're allowed to say this much, not that much.
Yes.
And, so that's why we have whistleblowers and all this disclosure stuff.
Mhm.
It still is not fast enough. And I have it in very good authority from the
Mhm.
extraterrestrials. It is not still good enough for them, how freaking slow this has been. And they've said basically to the government, we gave you a lot of time. We gave
Mhm.
you big leeway, and you
Mhm.
still haven't really made good on your promise. These
Mhm.
people are not stupid. And tell you what, we're a coming. And it ain't going to be a White House landing. Like,
Yes.
that's bullshit from the movie.
Yeah, no,
Did
speak
I say that?
freely. You're in
It's
good
from the
company.
movies. It's from
Yeah.
all this,
Yes.
entertainment crap that
Yes.
is not based in reality. It's not going to
Right.
happen. And anyway, they flew over the White House
Mhm.
previously, the spaceships, but
Mhm.
they are going to be revealing themselves
Mhm.
in the next, within the next 27 years.
Mhm.
Yes. And in 2026, 2027, something unprecedented is going to happen.
Mhm.
So stay alive, stay high vibe till then. So
Yes.
I want to be here for that.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Yes. But I mean, do you think this is why governments are working so hard with the whole false flag thing, the whole Project Blue Beam? Just look at here, look at things to try to confuse us so we don't actually believe or pay attention to what we're seeing.
Well, they're coming out more and more and saying, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
But some of
I
us have been seeing this stuff forever, it's just like, come on. Like, for those of us who are experiencers, okay, do you really need or care if there's disclosure? Because people are seeing them, and so many are afraid to even talk about it.
and that's a big part of it. And it's going to happen more. And it is already happening more and more and more. It's
Mhm.
not anymore the abduction thing. That is
Yeah.
gone down quite a bit.
Mhm.
Now it is more and more incidents. Certainly, I've seen more than my fair share of
Yeah.
spacecraft and all sorts of interesting
Yes.
things.
Same.
So
Yes.
it for sure exists.
Oh, to me, it's a privilege. I think if you can get past the
Mm.
showing up in the middle of the night in the boudoir when you're feeling vulnerable, I think if you can get past that part of it, it's all great. but
That's so funny.
but I don't want to minimize the experience of those who haven't had such a great experience. All I can say is that for me, many people that I know, they've been really good. So, since since you're on this journey where you've had to, be a little bit out there, and for them to say, "Finally, now you can't get away from us, and we're just going to say it like it is."
Yeah.
Why do you think so many people cannot recall their experiences?
You mean extraterrestrial in
Yeah.
particular?
Yes. Yes.
Well, there's different reasons. I mean, part of it is trauma. I
Mhm.
think just for most of us, we know this. You look around like this, we think is real. Of course, we know it's an illusion,
Mhm.
but it feels real. And when that gets tested
Mhm.
and you see something that never looked human
Mhm.
and isn't even talking, and I mean, the whole deal, it just,
Mhm.
Whitley Strieber is like a great example of somebody who went through massive
Yes.
PTSD, right?
Yes.
Massive. He was terrified of
Yes.
these little gray beings coming into his house, but he didn't remember. And there were so many anomalies that happened. He had to go through regressions to gain back his memories. Like, what is happening to me? What is wrong with me? Then
Mhm.
he gets these memories and he's terrified of these beings. I mean, he's such a perfect example of the arc of what's possible. But
Mhm.
he was doing the best he could with what he had because
Mhm. Mhm.
he had no context for this.
Yes.
Now we fast forward decades later. My God, this must be 40, almost 50 years later for
Hard to
him.
believe.
It is hard to believe. And
Yes.
you know what? This man I was going to say is madly in love, but that seems so weird, but he kind of is. He
Mhm.
has deep relationship with the Greys,
Yes.
deep relationship. He loves them. Every morning at 3 a.m., they come into his place because if he didn't wake up, they're going to go, wake up, Whitley. And he meditates with them and they give him downloads and they take him through. They have become his incredible family and friends. He probably was one.
Mhm.
And so I think the loss of memory, the amnesia is there's so much people can handle. And
Yes.
then sometimes they attribute trauma to
Mhm.
it when in fact these beings don't mean that at all. It's
Mhm.
just they don't know how to assimilate what they saw or experienced. And then they come back here and they're
Yeah.
like, who am I going to tell? Who's going to
Exactly.
believe me?
It's a whole other barrage of crazy, you know?
Yes.
Yes. His story, I found it was so heart-wrenching yet beautiful at the same
Mm.
time, the way he describes what it felt like for him and the tears and the trauma, because he describes it so well, you know, but I mean, coming out of it, it shows you, like, if you can get the memory of it, you
Yeah.
know. I was always advised, whenever I would put it out there, well, should I get hypnosis? No. Why not?
Interesting.
I mean, there's a lot of other stuff in the woodpile they don't want me to know. Maybe I don't want to know. I don't know. But I know that the ones that I do have a collection of are amazing.
Mm.
So
What are the beings who visit you?
I've had light beings, which to me, they're just, seeing a silhouette of light. I find they're very heavy footed, though. So sometimes um, I hear kind of this walking around, but it just seems unlike other ones. Like I've had grays, or I guess tall gray, tall white,
Mhm.
some people might call them. I find them they're very, very light gray if they're, and pretty much that's been it. But I've had on recording, if you're getting into the whole Tesla connection, I have on recording what I thought was a freaking gray. And it ended up, I had a guest on the show who deals a lot with different races, and not Tony, because I love Tony. He's coming on next week again.
Was
Tony
it
Ghazi.
Craig
Tony
Campobasso?
Ghazi. No. No, and I'm hoping he's not listening right now because his name will lose me and I'm a bad host. I can't remember. But he said, he goes, the clicking sounds. He goes, that's actually mantis. My first thought was, that's a very big bug in my space. But then I realized, oh, I should maybe not have said that. But, and other people just like, no, they have beautiful relationships with them. And so I didn't have that fear, when I realized, okay, but there's obviously some things in the space that I'm not, and reptilians, of course, because I get growled at a lot.
Awesome.
Well, maybe depends how you look at it, But I mean, but growly, but gruff, and the communication is this very even keel. It's not excitable. It's not like what you would expect from something, big and grumpy. I know some of them are quite lovely, but so there have been, and if there are more, that I don't know. I don't have a collection of that, and to be honest, I don't really have recollections of the ones that I started out with as a child, but I know the ones I've pretty much experienced and have recollection of now, and it's happened mostly in the last 5 years where I have recollection.
Yeah.
So
I know enough, but and I've only had the experience in dreams. And for me, it was light beings, not tall grays. But
light beings are cool. They're very big.
Wow. It was so beautiful. It's like if you have a flying dream and then you think, oh, I want to have that again and again. It was so spectacular. I was absolutely, I felt incredibly loved, and they just surrounded me. I was like sort of laying there and they were all around me. And I don't know if this is family or who they are. Maybe they're the Lyran light beings. But wow, that was powerful. Absolutely powerful.
See, it's interesting when you say that, because you're right. We don't know light beings from where. Because for me, it was in a very early morning vision, and basically letting me know, no, we're here, we're around. And in the house, probably within a couple of days, I caught a glimpse of something very tall, white, total silhouette. But I'm hearing this like walking. What's that racket? And me, I look off the corner of my eye. I'm like, oh, and then it's gone, just like this. And it's like, and it was in the same area that I had the vision. And it was in the middle of the day. So I thought, okay, that's actually very interesting. I try not to put too much into it because it's just, if I'm meant to have it in detail, I've come to learn that I'll have it in detail. And if I'm not, maybe it's just not my time.
I was once, there's a famous shaman that I just think the world of him. He's like a genius. And I decided to give myself a weekend retreat with him. It was, of course, a group situation. I was one of many. And something he does every time he does one of these retreats, the first thing he does is find out who is new, who hasn't come to one of these to work with me before. And, a pretty good size number of people raise their hands, and he goes around, so turkey feathers are very big in shamanism to release energy. And so he's doing all this clearing and etc. And then at some point he went down, we have mesas. Mesas are part of our healing tools. It's a beautiful cloth with different stones and things. Everything means something. And so he would go down and on his hands and knees and he would blow into their mesa. It was quite beautiful, clear their heart, all this stuff. And he came to me and he said, he came to me and he said, I want you to come sit over here. And he put me in his chair, in the shaman's chair. And I'm like, whoa. And then he put one of his shaman pouches on me. And this is a pouch of dreams and magic and stuff. So I'm sitting there, I'm a newbie in his thing going, whoa, this is pretty interesting. I don't know what it means, but I hope this will become more clear. And when he waited till he finished with everybody, when he was done with everybody, he came back to me and said, now come. And he brought me into the middle of the room where they had a giant mesa, a group mesa. And he started doing the turkey feathers and the work on me. And then he laughed and he said, oh my God, You have more starseed in you than even Sixto and Rama. Now, I happen to know those names. These guys are really famous from Peru, very famous. They have quite a story, if you guys ever want to look it up, about how they actually aborted spacecraft and have all this relationship with extraterrestrials. It's pretty deep. And then they lead contact work all around the world. And, you know, they're very well-known guys. So I knew the reference and I'm like, wow, that's wild. Okay. I've never had anybody say that to me. So more starseed than most people. Very interesting. And then he had me do something. And at the very end, he brought me back to my mesa and he said, you are going to blow. You are going to blow the shaman's breath and soul into your mesa. So I did. I got down on my hands and knees and I blew in and I got up and he said, I knew you would know how to do it. I knew you had this. This is so old for you.
I love that.
And wow.
I love that. I think that's outstanding. What an experience. But you see what I mean? Was somehow you just seem to know things. Like, where did that come from?
Well, of course, this is a real shaman. So
Yeah.
he can see everything in everyone.
I love it.
And it just went right back to where we started this interview, where I had this experience and the divine told me these things. You're a shaman, you're a healer, you're a priestess. And I'm like, you know, and then here is this beautiful shamanic gentleman who is able to see things and verify for me, you know, that there's truth in this. I mean, I'll understand as much as I can in this lifetime and I'll keep doing exactly what I'm doing, but
I don't think we'll get it all in one lifetime because you've been accumulating it for lifetimes. And the cruel joke about it is when you come back, you don't remember any of it. You have to have ayahuasca.
That's good. Well,
It's like, darn it, again. So,
some people have extraterrestrial experiences when they do ayahuasca. They don't even have anything akin to what I had, you know?
it's true, yeah. I've heard some crazy stories of things that people see on ayahuasca.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what it is with me? I don't like, my son said, okay, he asked me this years ago. He goes, let's go to Peru. You know, there's a place where 2-year waiting list, but they train you for 2 weeks. They work with you. So you don't have one of those freak out sessions while you're having a traumatic moment. But I don't like not having control over my head. And you have to get to that point where you're like, ooh, face palming the dirt floors, like, or face planting rather the dirt floors. Like, no, I'm not so sure I would do that well. So, I mean, I'm sure it's not like that for everybody, but I have visions of it for myself. So, you know, so that's kind of a tough one. But I think it would be quite an experience. I'm just trying to get up here for a question. Have you ever heard of the light protector beings? Because she has had an experience where she was told, oh, I've seen, okay, bright people shaped light outside my bedroom window and have it on our video clips, security video clips. I never thought of them as being light beings. So, but have you heard of these protector beings?
No, I haven't. You know what? There are, and by the way, I want to offer, and forgive me for digressing, but I think this is important for people who are into this, curious about this. I have a gift for you guys. It is a free starseed report and video. It goes through multiple variations and species so you can see what they look like, what they act like, what kind of careers they have, what their weaknesses are, their strengths. You start to see yourself in these beings. And so if you go to debbidachinger.com/starseed, get your free gift, because I think this stuff is freaking fascinating, and learning mine changed my life. So just spell my name right. That's the only thing I want to tell you, or if somebody wants to type it in the thing, it's
I just did that. And it's also in the show description. Yeah, I just popped it up, and not all of the all the chats. We've got 7 out of 8 chats, but they don't all show up in here, but there are other ones too.
Perfect.
So
Well, as long as you spell my name right, you'll get there.
I copy and
Debbi.
pasted it, so I'm safe.
But the answer to the question is, I
Yeah.
haven't heard of them, and there are so more. We cannot even conceive, as much as we can conceive the vastness of the never-ending cosmos,
Mm-hmm.
universes, galaxies upon galaxies, parallel universes, multidimensional beings. It is ad infinitum. We couldn't possibly know all the beings that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, if there are light protectors looking after somebody or checking in or having relationship, man, that is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how does it get any better than that? That's a kind of relationship I would love to have.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe that's part of the whole thing, is that maybe people aren't recognizing what they're seeing or experiencing.
Because they're on Earth too. I mean,
Yes.
you've got everything from hybrids, some of which I know,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got hybrid beings who live amongst us, and then you've got extra full-on extraterrestrials.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be, I think, highly, like, you have to have a special something to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people who will walk down a street and go, oh, they know.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's others, they just won't, because they look enough. I mean, they're shapeshifters, so they look enough like us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting world we live in.
Especially if you don't want to be known. I wouldn't want to be known.
Yeah.
An interesting world. It's a crazy ass world too, just saying. It's not necessarily safe for.
Yeah, can you imagine an extraterrestrial coming here and going, oh my God, look what they're doing to the Muslims, and look what they're doing to, all these different people.
Yes.
I mean, it's horrible, to Jewish people, to this and that. I mean, you could name like a million cultures of how disgusting, or
but
even genders and sexuality, like what
everything. I know. It's been thousands of years of crazy. I mean, you go to the witch trials, just go to back to the medieval times. I mean, there's always somebody to pick on.
Yeah. So why would they want to reveal themselves? It's like,
it's almost like, I always say, I consider myself an earthling. Part of the human race. I don't pick and choose. I may have been this in this life. I may have been back on this planet, another life, been something different, obviously, and it's just like, can't we all just get along? Where have I heard that?
Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with you.
Yes.
There's a reason.
It has to. It has to. Something has to give. Because I think if we really want to have, there's so many people out there. It reminds me of that cult that was up on top of a mountain. Everybody kind of going, oh, the ship's coming in tonight. Nope, no ship. I think that, we have to get ourselves together if we think that we can have this incredible universal relationship. Some of us have great relationships with ethereal beings, extraterrestrial beings. I mean, we're on so many different levels. Like, just think multiverse and go just there. This doesn't even tackle anything else. Like, we're so small, this little grain of sand on a very big beach, right? So we have to get our shit together for real.
Yes. When I was young, I read a Seth book. And I remember I went someplace by myself for lunch, and I was into this Seth book. That is a book it's old now. It's very old. And it was channeled by Jane Roberts. And there's many Seth books out there. There was one section, and it's amazing. I still remember this, but I will never forget it, because in it, Seth, who is channeled through Jane Roberts, describes exactly what you're talking about, Michelle, this infinitesimal grain of nothingness, atoms that we are. And the way he did it was so genius, because it took us from where we are. And I'm going to use the word me, because as I was reading it, I literally took myself into every step that he described. And he said, you know, you're this, and then you break it down and you're this and you're this. And, you know, picture yourself, you know, even the atoms in a table that don't exist that are swirling around and becoming something else. And you go down and down and down and down and all these amazing layers above you. And I just remember how incredibly humbled I was to understand how incredibly not important I am. I really am not important. You know, I'm really like everybody else, a particle. And hopefully in my small way, my big way, that I'm creating some kind of positive influence, some kind of positive healing movement. And that's the best I can ask for. The rest of it, you know, the rest of it is really about, hey, I'm alive. I have this much time. Let's have fun. Let's find joy in life. Like, let's enjoy this, you know, have experiences and adventures. But to understand how really minuscule we are, I think is very sobering.
Oh, it's sobering. I guess there's people out there who are always more than have. I mean, to me, there's a lot of hardship. My life is, I've had a very good life, you know, very good life, very privileged life. I've traveled, I've experienced so much. I have just done more than many people could have done. I never sit there and feel sorry for myself. I never sit there and think I ever have it bad. If I'm having a bad day, I'm just having a stinking bad day, and I leave it at that love and light, and I'm okay. I just throw that love and light vibration up there, and then I usually feel okay after that. And it's really bad because my other half looks at me when I say something. He'll look at me, he'll just go, I'm like, all right, I get it. that's love and light. All right, you know, but it's very humbling to be able to have some of the experiences. You almost feel chosen in a way to have experiences with all of these incredible beings, whether they're extraterrestrial, whether you have ethereal beings just coming in, wanting to work with you or wanting to give you a message, whatever the case may be, it is a humbling experience. And I believe in paying that forward. But the one thing that's been consistent in our conversation with all of this is the positive part of it, because so many people, I can't, you know what, it's a 50-50. I see so many people just like, that was a horrific experience, abductions, probing, everything. The probing comes up a lot. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? Okay. But I don't want to minimize the experience, you know, but you know, your vet does it to your pets. Maybe they're taking care of you, checking your temperature. Maybe I don't know. And I don't want to minimize it, because I think if you're having a traumatic moment, everything is going to be traumatic. And I know that there are things that have been done. Abductees kind of go for it. And I don't want to minimize that. I don't want to be that person. But there are a lot of really phenomenal experiences out there, and the message seems to be clear with contactees and experiencers, is that they just want us to grow. They want us to use our abilities. They want us to just be one. We're all one.
You know, I had a conversation with this gentleman who worked for the government in basically he was working with extraterrestrials. And so this was his job, very interesting job. And at one point, you know, he found the grays interesting, to say the least. The grays, the particular sector, because there are also different grays and different color grays, different sizes grays, different motivation grays. But these particular grays were not the easiest ones. These were the very emotionless ones. And so during his contact with them, I mean, he's way down in a bunker, way down in Middle Earth, where this government had everything. And he was asking them, so why do you do this to people? Like, why do you terrorize them? Why do you treat them like this? Why do you do the probes and the, you know, implants and the babies and taking babies and all the different things. And the Greys looked at him and said, but we learned from you. You fish and you go out in the ocean and you take something that is happy and thriving in the ocean and you pull it in with a hook while it's flopping around, and then you cut it open. And you keep dogs and animals in cages and you euthanize them. And you go after elephants and steal their tusks, which they can't live without. You do, you maim animals. And we have learned from you. We watch what you did. And so we think this is acceptable Earth behavior. They were really confused. And when you hear it in that context, it's like, wow, that is so accurate.
It's mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. Absolutely.
That's a crazy perspective. So, I mean, when you're looking at cattle mutilations, them or us, you know, like, because that's deep too. I mean, you have to look at every side of the coin, but that's why I say I don't want to minimize anybody's, you know, bad experiences. I've just been fortunate that mine have been good, or at least I'm remembering the good ones. But, you know, so again, emulation, but coming from the other side this time, which is fascinating.
How are all your people in the chats enjoying this?
They've been doing really well. I have a great chat. They basically interact amongst themselves. So I'll put up some comments because we do have a.
Are you guys in your own world, or are you like?
They are. They're great. They're great.
Are you following? Are you dragging?
Oh no, I always have like the best people. Okay, hold on. Let me get into some of the comments. Going back to the beginning of the show, I feel the right answer. This is, I guess, when we're looking on our journeys. I feel the right answer is always inside of you. People don't want to dig deep inside themselves, so they just need opinions from others to be led around like tools for the answers. Okay, we'll let the talk to text go. There we go. I love the more that you dig in the phenomenon, more and more questions come up, and the topic gets bigger and bigger. So I'll never find my way back out. Join the club. You can never unsee it or undo it. Okay, we did that one already. Look at that. God, you have so many here, Kurt. I just have to be able to find you. I've had no, he's great. I love him. He's a great talker. Oh, this is about the ayahuasca. I had very informational and clarification through mushrooms, not saying to do it. And I will say it's not for everyone, but I've had a good bit of help.
Yeah.
The next day afterwards.
I agree, Kurt.
Yeah. Do what you got to do. Right. Doing it one time, saying you learned everything is like cramming study before a test the next day that you're not going to remember to learn everything. Good way to look at it. And we go. The human brain size doubling really interests me, but I also feel civilization's gone extinct more than once. So I feel there's been influence from ETs, other civilizations, and a lot of other things. Alan says the only way the ancient people could have known about star systems is that the stars are fixed and rotate around us. Well, I don't know, man, till we can get out there. If we can extend the telomere caps, or however you spell it, on each end of DNA, I think we could live a lot longer, and we would need to decode all of this junk DNA.
Oh my God. So the junk DNA, can I say something about that?
Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can.
So, all right. I want to talk about DNA for a minute because I love this subject. So here's the deal about DNA. Okay. The gentleman who discovered DNA was named Francis Crick. He also won a Nobel Prize for his work. And Francis Crick, looking at DNA, said, it is impossible that this is from Earth alone. It is very clear that there's been influence from other cosmic realms that have created what I'm looking at.
Yes.
And of course, this is back at a time like, it's very interesting. He was so bold to say all this. So fast forward, and yes, we have 3.2 billion base pairs of DNA, and only 1.5% of it codes for protein. So if those ratios, this stuff, what's the rest of it? Exactly. Scientists didn't know what to do with it. So the best they could do is, let's call it junk DNA till we can figure it out. Well, we fast forward, and there's things like the Human Genome Project, and they do fantastic work there on genetics and on DNA. And they have had proof where they have gone, and there's papers written about this. Shirkov and Makukov, these are Russian scientists who wrote this amazing paper. There's also Samuel Chang, who wrote an amazing paper, if you guys ever want to look it up. But these are real scientists who said, when we look, because they have the technology now, here's what we're seeing. The DNA shows that there are patterns, mathematical patterns in our DNA, and hieroglyphs, petroglyphs. And what does that mean? It shows that we are virtual in our DNA. We're like a satellite or a beacon or a messenger, a communicator, and we are communicating with the extraterrestrials. They said that with beyond a shadow of a doubt, they have found that there was life spread by advanced civilizations, yes, on Earth and throughout the entire cosmos, still going on. And so we were one of the recipients of all of this, which changed our DNA and our genetics. That's the most simple way that I can say who we are and what we are. And again, I go back to these people, these species, our family. They literally are so excited for us to become part of the galactic community, because wouldn't you want to meet your long lost uncle, aunt, cousin, brother, sister, parent, all of that stuff? And also because they don't look at us. I mean, obviously, we have pretty far to go in some of the choices we make. But at the same time, they're fascinated by us because we are a planet with so much love and so much resilience. And they find our feelings fascinating, that we can go through. We all chose to come to this very dense planet. And yet look how resilient we are. So they also feel like there's so much they learn and can learn from us.
I would agree. I think a lot of people, if they took the time to research, I find DNA can be frightening because there's companies out there that have collected it for whatever reason and have gone under and have sold it. And, whatever it is that they're all looking for out there is a curiosity as well. What are they looking for? That clearly somebody out there knows something. And the rest of us are just kind of going, we want to know, who were we in our last life? Exactly what you say, or who are we related to? Are we related to anybody famous? Things like that. But there was too much of a rash amount of companies, because I had mine done just from a laboratory way before any of these companies came to be. And, what are they looking for specifically? They definitely know something that the rest of us don't. To sell that DNA is interesting.
It's very interesting. I find most of the companies that do it for me unbelievably boring. Like, it's very pedestrian. It's very typical. I wasn't shocked by anything. Where the juice was for me was genetics. And I work with a genome company, and they asked for your raw DNA data.
Yes.
That was unbelievable. That was like, you cannot write this stuff.
Yes.
It made so much sense galactically, even for me, past life stuff for me. I got tons out of that. And so that's highly recommended.
Yes. Yes. I wish we had more time. We're already up at the top of the hour. I can't believe we're there already. Where did the time go? But I am so pleased that you have come to hang out with me this evening and have this enlightening conversation. And I know everybody in chat enjoyed it as well. It's definitely something now. The website is out there. Go peruse it, get your free gift. and connect, because you have a shamanism class coming up as well too, don't
I
you?
do, and I always do. I'm always rolling out something. Yes, if you sign up on my website or get the free Starseed gift, either one, then you'll get the email and the registration link to come. It's free. It's on Sunday. It's just an hour. It's a beautiful way to start not only your day, but the next couple of weeks. And it's really about constantly shifting. And all the energy right now, because I also follow astrology. I'm not an astrologer, but I follow people because I find that fascinating, all of how it coincides. And it says very clearly that this is a place like, pull back, people. Look at all the stuff in your life that's not working. That's what we're going to work on. And then look at all you want to create. That's what we're going to work on. And it's a beautiful way to do it, to let, we won't be alone. Trust me. I call in a lot of shamanic lineage to work with everybody.
I think that's fantastic. I'm definitely going to come and peruse, and definitely curious about what it is that you do. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else you're going to come up with. It's going to be fantastic. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. And maybe we can do it again sometime.
That's awesome. Thank you. I think the world of you. This has been great. And for everybody, like every so often, I try to look over here and see everything you were writing and just, thank you. Thank you so much for you guys participating and staying in the conversation and enjoying it. It's, it is
the same reason you're seeing Folgers as our sponsor. I haven't done the ID yet. We're not just a bunch of weirdos sitting in here. Well, maybe, but
I guess it's time. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you, Debbie. Much love to you.
And to you as well.
Thank you. Well, everybody, it's been a great show. Debbie's wonderful. And man, the time just flew by. Whether you follow along, believe it, don't believe it, she does beautiful energy work, beautiful light work. And if you are helping people, that is basically what it comes down to. So big thank you to everybody in the chat. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee. Thank you. Big thank you to Justin Snicker and Steve McGinnis. Big thank you. United Public Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio, 105.3, 107.7. You've been watching it scroll across the screen. Tomorrow night, Constance Victoria Briggs joins me again to discuss USOs, hidden bases, stargates, and much more. So we're going to delve into a lot of fun stuff. Next Tuesday, just because I don't have as much time to advertise it, Maxim W. Furyk is going to join me. This is on Beyond the Outer Realm to discuss his newest book, The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot. So that's going to be pretty interesting right there. Anyway, guys, thank you all for being here, and we shall see you tomorrow night. Mwah. Much love. Good night.